Welcome back to another episode of The Decision Hour. I'm your host, Adam Bird. Folks, let me tell you, I'm pumped about this interview today. Mainly because I've been trying to get him on for a while now, and we finally were able to get our calendars to sync together. He's a community hero. He's the host of the Hack Life podcast that you can also find anywhere that you listen to podcasts, specifically on Heroes Media Group as well. He's a holistic health coach. I'm talking about my friend, Mr. Joel Evan. Joel, what's up, brother? How are you?
Let's go. It's great to be here.
Oh, man. You've been a busy guy lately, and I want to dive right into things like right out the gate. Why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So, on paper, I was a first responder. I was a police officer for almost 15 years. I worked in Oakland, California for about 6 years, and then I lateraled to San Francisco. If anybody is not aware of Oakland, California, I can promise you, I don't know what the numbers are now, but I always say top 5 dead or alive, one of the most dangerous per capita cities. We either led in homicides, and this is not to brag, I'm just giving you kind of the tempo so you can kind of understand the culture of what it was like there. They either led in homicides, and if they didn't lead in homicides, they were leading in per capita most violent crime, or at least, and what is most violent crime? We're talking about assault with a deadly weapon or robberies, and they're pretty much well known for that. I don't know what the numbers are now, but there was a good time where we were like number one. So I did that for about 6 years, and then lateral to San Francisco, and I worked there for about 8.5 years. Love my job. Before I was fired from the San Francisco Police Department, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit. I was a trainer, and I love to train, and I just always felt like I was given so much, and maybe that's why I'm a coach, because I just love to see. I learned a lot in my life, and I always wanted to give back. And I remember when I turned 30, it just wasn't, and that was also around the time I had my first child. It was just like, this isn't about me anymore. Like, great, I accomplished a lot of things. I go to the seminars, personal development, all that stuff, but there needs to be something more, and I wanted to find ways to give back. And so I always love to train and coach and mentor young officers. And so I got a great job at the academy training veteran officers and the new recruits coming through. And I was a trainer in use of force and tactics. And so that was a great opportunity until I was fired and let go. But also that was in October 2021 when I was let go, and we'll get into that. But I also think, that is the turning point. That's what I needed to actually lean into my true self. And what is my truth? I think I discovered it, and I needed the San Francisco Police Department to fire me, probably to really embrace that and see what that meant. And so when that happened, I had a choice. I could have got hired from another agency who wasn't pushing so hard on the mandates. Or I could have went all into my life coaching and health coaching, holistic health coaching business that I had kind of started on the side about 2 years prior. It just wasn't fully fleshed out, and double down on my podcast. And so I definitely could have gotten hired at another agency. I chose not to. I just felt like that was the easy route. I felt like I wasn't aligned with my truth, and I wanted to be who I really said I was going to be. It was that. And so that's what I dove into, and that's what I've been doing the last couple of years.
I love it. I want to step back here a little bit, because you're talking about law enforcement for many years. First off, thank you for your service and being a true community hero. You said you were fired from the PD, and you mentioned the mandates and stuff. So I'm going to speculate that it had something to do with that, but let's hear from you.
Yeah. So San Francisco, unlike many of the Bay Area cities, actually San Francisco and Oakland, to my knowledge, are probably the only two, at least in that area, that forced the experimental product. I'm not going to use the word because I don't want anybody to be censored or banned, and I've seen that happen, but they forced the product upon us. And what happened really was just dirty, and it didn't exemplify leadership. And one of the things that I really hold myself to is that leaders don't do what is easy. They do what is right. And nobody stuck up in that time. And that is really an abomination. And I don't care if you're the chief of police, the mayor, nobody stood up. And that is, that's crazy to me. And so what happened was they fired me because I wouldn't take this experimental product. I had a religious exemption that got approved and then later denied. That's kind of, how did that happen? That'll all get revealed in the lawsuit. So I'm not too worried about it. But, so that happened. And, believe it or not, they said that I was a direct threat to society. And that really kind of didn't settle well with me, because here's a guy who I worked for a year and a half without this experimental product in my body, and I was deemed an asset. And matter of fact, the last thing I'll say about this is the first 2 weeks, December 2019, when this all went down, when the world shut down, and the first 2 weeks they said, we got to shut everything down to stop the spread. Guess what they did? They had to make use of me because the academy got shut down. So you know what they did? They said, well, we have no use for Joel right now. Let's send him out to the Tenderloin because the mayor is upset that homeless are gathering around. And that's how this, the C word, that's how it spreads. It spreads through contagion of other folks and groups, small groups. And we don't like that because the whole city, you have to remember, the whole city was shut down. There was nobody downtown other than who? The homeless.
Right.
And that the homeless are in Tenderloin and the Tenderloin district of San Francisco, which guess what? Sits right across from the mayor's office, City Hall. So she sees all this and says, hey, Chief Police, you got to do something. You got to move these guys around. So guess what? They send people like me who aren't on patrol at the time because they have use for now. They have free, fresh bodies, and they put us out there. And guess what? I did my job. I did exactly what they asked me. I didn't complain. I didn't like what I was doing, but not because I was worried about the virus. I was just like, this is not why I decided to be a cop. But it's part of the job, and you just do what you do. And so for 2 to 3 weeks, I was out moving homeless around, and I didn't miss a day. And here I am now, a year and a half later, and I'm a direct threat. It was just really scandalous.
Yeah, it's especially now, you know, you fast forward 2023 and we know a lot of the updates of what really was going on. You see how back then, how politicized and how misinformation was handed out through mainstream media and using community heroes as one, test tubes in my opinion, and two, to help enforce something that, quite frankly, in many people's minds is illegal to an extent. So I will say that. But let me ask you this: yes or no? Do you feel that although transitioning and stuff isn't always easy for everybody, but do you feel like it turned out to be a blessing in disguise for you?
Always. And the more that I have learned, I'm telling you, the more I keep saying aligning with truth. And it's a nice catchphrase, but really the more that I have leaned into fear and leaned into that. And I really want people to do that because it's easy for someone to say, entrepreneurs, you hear all these amazing stories and, oh man, they lost everything. And I did. I almost feel like I had to lose everything. I had to lose a $200,000 salary. I'm the only provider for my family. I had to lose everything and continue to lose everything in order to really surrender and accept and let happen, unfold the natural part of life to unfold. And I really think it's something you can't write about. You can't read in a textbook. You have to experience it. Yeah. And here I was experiencing it. And I always think like everything happens for a reason. And the more, there's this quote I really love, and that it kind of helps me in going through some of this. And it goes something like this: when we recognize that the universe is governed by God's law and that nothing happens by chance, each difficulty that is met has its own purpose in the whole great plan. And so the more that we cease to rebel against the great scheme of things, easier. Why are you rebelling? Why am I fighting? Why am I resisting this? It's all part of the great plan anyways, for whatever it is for me. So now the more I just accept it, smile, soften, and release, man, I'm telling you, I have connected with so many good people. I've gotten a lot of hate. I've been banned. I've been censored. But then guess what? I meet people like you. I meet other thought leaders and other people that, guess what? They're actually aligned with me. And I thought I was alone at the beginning. Right. And now I'm not. I realize actually this is the tribe. These are the people I need to be around. And so that has been the synchronicity, has been amazing in the last 2 years, and the people I've been able to connect with because of that.
And you've done amazing things, man. And I'm really proud of first off, honored to be a part of your life and to know you, and everything that you've been doing, especially recently. Listen, folks, if you're online, Joel's got a website, and we're going to talk about this here in a second. But if you're online, it means you're already listening to the show. Open up another browser and go to joelevancoaching.com. Joel, let's talk about this coaching, and how did you mentioned it briefly before that you'd kind of dib-dabbed a little bit in it, and then after leaving the police or the law enforcement agencies and whatnot, you kind of pushed forward in that venue, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What was that something you just like, hey, this is what I'm going to do now moving forward. This is my purpose, or this is what I feel like that God has me on the path that he wants me to pursue.
So the interesting thing is I always resonated with coaching. I went back to 2016. I got my first life coaching cert, and then I did multiple holistic health coaching certs, kind of getting ready. I knew one day I was going to launch, but having two boys, I didn't have the time to work. I was working 60 hours a week. I was working overtime to make ends meet. And then I was also trying to start this side business, and having young boys, I just couldn't do it all. And so right about the time my second son became 3, I noticed we had a little bit more freedom, a little bit more levity, being able to do some of these side projects. And so I go, oh, well, great. Let me start doing this. The thing is, originally when I launched my business, I thought, you don't really make good money as a coach unless you have a big brand like your Tony Robbins or Brendon Burchard or something like that. And I was completely wrong. And so I tell people this: I spent over $30,000 learning from a business coach how to run a successful coaching business, because I didn't know. And that was scary. By the way, I didn't just put down 30,000 all in one. It was over time. But I just want people to understand, like, it was scary for me. Again, I'm about to lose my job. Right. Okay. I know it's coming. I'm about to lose my job. And now you're going to invest. I think at the time I invested like 6 to 8K or something like that. I didn't even know if I had the money, but I was like, I've got to figure this out. This guy says he can help me scale. And even if I'm a nobody, not that I'm saying I'm nobody, but, and I didn't know. And my point is just investing in yourself. And I did it when I had nothing at all, or I didn't think I had anything. And so that was really key for me, learning sales, learning marketing, learning how to position myself in a way that could actually create the clients that I want and actually create a successful coaching business. And so I launched, I went all into that. And I had the opportunity to work. I ended up moving out of the state of California. I moved to Idaho, and I actually had an opportunity to work with a law enforcement agency local. And my wife and I had a long talk, and she basically said, Joel, I think you're going to be successful. I think you can do this. I trust you. Don't do the policing, because it just doesn't align with your truth right now. And I think we all go through evolutions in our life, right? Where the police work served me when I was 25 years old and I was full of piss and vinegar and ego. I wanted to prove how tough I was, and I really did want to serve too, but I think it was more for me. And as I've gotten older and older, it's just like, that doesn't align with me as much. And being a police officer, especially in California, I'll just say I became disenfranchised with just a lot of the way we were treated. And I felt like I was becoming a pawn for whatever the new flavor of the month was politically. I didn't like that. Right. And I felt like I was being also handcuffed literally from really doing a good job because of all the policies and restrictions. And so that just didn't vibe with me, and knowing what I could potentially do. And so I again, having your own freedom and being able to create what I'm doing now is very powerful.
What does it mean to be, for those that don't know, but what does it mean to be a holistic health coach? What is that exactly?
Good question. I don't even know now, and I'm going to tell you why. Because here's the thing, Adam. I actually have recently transitioned some of my offer and some of my niche. And what I was, just so people understand, when I think of holistic health coaching, here's the big thing. My mother was diagnosed with cancer several years ago, which also led me into coaching, because I was a guy who knew a lot about health, a lot about fitness, knew a lot, but never knew how to systematize it and create protocols. And it bothered me that Western doctors couldn't fix my mom. Now, my mom's still alive today, but their whole philosophy is just to kill it, radiate it, chemo it. That didn't vibe with me. That's never jived with me. And I've never seen Western doctors get anybody better from any disease. They just don't. They mask the symptoms. And that always bothered me. What is the root cause? I wanted to know that. How do we get to the root cause? And so that is how I found holistic or functional medicine and coaching. And so holistic health coaching for me is getting to the root cause, whatever that may be. If you have a gut issue, for example, people come and they say, "Oh, I have IBS." Okay, well, let's unravel that. You have IBS,
right?
IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. It literally means your tummy hurts, your bowels, your stomach is bothering you. You go to the doctor and you tell them, "Hey, guess what? My stomach hurts. These are my symptoms," and the doctor repeats back to you what you already know. You have IBS.
Right.
Great. Now, most people, guess what? It's the worst thing a doctor can do. They take on the diagnosis. Oh my God, I have this thing called IBS, like it's a disease. It's not. It literally means your stomach's just not feeling good.
Right.
So they're going to give you Pepto-Bismol and all this other junk that will never get you better. My thing is, all right, let's analyze what you really have, and then let's get to the root cause. Is it Candida yeast overgrowth? Is it H. pylori? Is it parasites? Great. There's protocols for that. And if you know how to systematize those protocols, people get better. And that's what I love.
Man. So listen, if you guys are listening to this right now, open up another browser, go to joelevancoaching.com, because Joel, you help people with all of this stuff, yes?
Yeah, one of my good things I think I'm really good at is gut health. We can always run labs. There's several good labs out there, gut stool test, or there's even organic acids tests, which will reveal a lot. But honestly, I tell people if they want to save the money, I'm a probably 80% chance I can guess. And I don't want to say guess because that sounds like bad, but I can probably break down whether here's what you most likely have. And a lot of these herbals they're done with in synergies. And so they will cross and like, let's say if you had SIBO and you have Candida yeast overgrowth, they're different, but a lot of the same protocols will work. And so if we can kind of narrow down what it is you have, we're going to get to the bottom of it without even a lab.
Does it mean how do I ask this? When something like that happens, is it because of what the root cause of it? Is it because of like people might be eating the wrong foods and it's causing X, Y, and Z, or maybe it causes an ulcer or what? So it's then you sit down with them. It's like, okay, we need to change your eating habits, and this is maybe some things that you need to start looking at doing. Am I close?
No, you're poking around in the right area. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Here's the crazy thing, right? You can go out barefoot and you could catch a parasite. So there's that. I mean, there's just things you just don't know. It's like, and parasites are actually they're more common than people think. People think we need to go to third world countries. Oh, that only happens in Thailand or Mexico. It's like, no, guys, like this happens everywhere, including the United States. So let's not like think of ourselves as so high and mighty. And so food poisoning is another one. You can get H. pylori, and that's very common. People that have ulcers, very common. They have an H. pylori infection. People always say, "Oh, it's stress related." Yeah, it is, but it can be. Now, one thing I want to highlight you're pointing to yourself. There's two things I want to highlight really quick. So what you said is the processed food. Yeah, we all know we should be eating processed food, but we make we cut corners.
Right.
Here's the thing I want to stress out: glyphosate, guys. This herbicide or pesticide, also known as Roundup, that they spray in all of our crops. I got a chance to interview Dr. Stephanie Seneff, who came out with the book Toxic Legacy. Man, you don't need to go out and read it, but it is amazing. Go check out my interview with her. You will be blown away at how much this herbicide is doing. It is just wrecking us. And I never thought that until I dove a little bit deeper into that. And I mean, glyphosate, it is ruining our microbiome. Okay. I mean, it's just destroying the good microbiome that we have, the integrity of our gut. It is destroying some of the building blocks that form collagen, the collagen matrix in your bones and your structures. So now we're going to be seeing NFL athletes and people getting injured more frequently. And it's doing a lot more than we think, like, oh, it's just not organic. Like, no, it's beyond that. And it's just some of the chemicals that we're seeing that I'm sorry, not the chemicals, but some of the things that it's doing to the body, the systems of the body, it is terrible. I mean, it is just, there's a good correlation with glyphosate introduction into our system and autism. If you look right now, the autism epidemic, guys, I'm sorry to say, there's a couple of reasons I think why we're seeing such an increase. But back in the 80s, we went from like 1 in 10,000. We are at 1 in 36, and boys are at a higher rate. They're thinking 1 in 2. That is scary. And I can promise you, glyphosate is a huge contributor. So when you're thinking, oh, is it organic or not organic? Should I buy? That's just a gimmick. Yeah, there's part of it that's a gimmick, and I do agree, and I don't like paying the higher price too, but from what I've learned, I would totally do it. And the second thing I want to just highlight is you said, well, is it the processed food? Like, yeah, again, let's remove the processed food. That's always positive, but stress is so detrimental. And us as first responders and in any profession, is entrepreneurs especially, we are good at thinking we're managing the stress. And I'm going to give you a quick example. In my own house, my own home, my wife, she does way more work than me. And she is the homeschooler, the mom, and she makes our dinners and everything. She's working her butt off, going to the gym at 4 a.m. I get up at 4, but she goes and goes to the gym. Anyways, long story short, she was having some issues with her monthly cycle recently, and she's 42. So, some people might say, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's normal.
Yeah.
Well, her and I both know, no, that's not normal. There's something going on. What's going on? So I had her run a Dutch test, which is a great test for anyone that wants to see their cortisol, their stress hormones throughout the day, and also see their hormone levels, where women are at, their estrogen, and some of those, there's actually 4 types of estrogen. People don't even know that.
Yep.
They think there's just one. And so we got the numbers ran, and guess what happened? We saw from the early morning her cortisol spiked, which is a good thing. You need cortisol to get your body up and going.
Right.
But guess what? It stayed high the whole day.
Way.
And my wife would have never thought that. She would have thought, yeah, I'm good at managing the stress, just like we all are. Like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I know what I'm doing. I'm not that stressed out. Well, the numbers didn't lie. And so we started implementing meditation in her life and just doing some more down regulatory things where I could actually help support her. And guess what? She's come back into balance and homeostasis. And so the last thing I want to tell you guys, and I know I'm getting long-winded.
No, you're good.
But okay, good. This is something I heard the other day, and it really struck me, is we all know, now it's very common, the gut is like 80% of our immunity. And there's this thing called the gut-brain axis. There's some communication going up there with the gut and the brain. Well, guess what? If you're stressed, and forget stress, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those guys, and I'm doing my best to be out of it. But there's a lot of us that we're always up in our head. We're always into radio me. That's the frequency we're in. And if you're up in your head all day, and you're not in your heart or your hara, your gut, guess what? The brain, if you're up in your head all day, what do you think's going on with your gut? Probably not good, because you're so stressed out, guys. And so, yeah, a lot of my coaching, I still do, like we talked about, the gut health and all that stuff, because I can do it and I'm good at it. But I've really kind of shifted, because I have had this revelation, I think, over the last just month of just realizing, oh my God, there's a bigger problem here besides what I'm talking about, holistic health. Beyond that, it's that we are not present. We are not in ease. We are not in flow. Most of us are not engaged in reality and fully conscious of what we really need to be doing, what matters. And that is what I'm focusing on now. I'm kind of shifting my coaching to the high performers that want to find that presence in their life, but still go out and be a high performer.
That you've hit so many things that, quite honestly and shamefully, hit home for me. Because I kind of pride myself on going to the gym. I'm like your wife. I'm up at 4. I'm at the gym by 5, and I'll do an hour and a half, 2-hour workout, and that's 5 days a week. I have to force myself to take a day off just to recover. I'm no spring chicken. I'm a little seasoned now, so it's like my body needs an extra day of rest just to recoup a little bit. I'm not 25 anymore.
Yeah.
But then I own, as you know, the Heroes Media Group, and then I got several other companies that are simultaneously running all at once, and it's like, okay, but I go to the gym and that's good. And I just had blood work done where they were shocked that my cholesterol level was high, because I'm a foodie, and I admit it, but I've gotten better at what I put in my body, but it was still a little off, and it wasn't bad. It was just, it's not where I want it to be, because I'm very hard on myself when it comes to numbers, but I feel it in my gut. And I was like, I've been reading more and more about the mind and the gut. And you talk about meditation, where I try to meditate, like my drive to the gym is like 15 minutes. And that's, for me, prayer works for me. Talking to God works for
Love
me.
that.
And
Nice.
then sometimes, like during the day, I'll take my dogs out, or I'll just, if the weather's nice, like today, I went for a walk, and that's kind of like my meditation, time to just kind of reset button, or just kind of regroup a little bit so I can finish the day strong. I'm slowly starting to get back into that. So I really appreciate that you bring that up, because it's very eye-opening on that. And then I wanted to mention something about the food and the intake stuff, the Roundup stuff that you mentioned.
Yeah.
That stuff's crazy, because it's like, for the last couple of years, we've been buying regenerative beef. We find these regenerative farms and whatnot that aren't using any hormones or steroids or anything like that. We've been looking at that. So I strongly, and then we grow our own food. We have our own garden and stuff like that. And we use, like, eggshells and coffee grinds and stuff like that with the dirt and stuff like that. So I'm a big proponent of not using any type of chemical stuff in your food. And it's fairly easy, folks, to grow your own food as well. But listen, I know we're coming up on time. You're a busy guy. I got one more question for you, brother.
Yeah.
You're on a show called The Decision Hour, and we make decisions every day. Name a time in your life where your feet are on the line and you have to make that decision. What is it, and what's the atmosphere like?
Ooh. That's easy for me because the last 2 years, and we kind of alluded to my story, but here's the thing. October 2021, I knew I was going to be fired. I was going to lose a 200,000 plus career that I built, and it would have been easy for me to actually stay because I'm telling you right now, I could have forged a card. I don't think it would have been that hard. I could have forged a card and my life would have continued like nobody's business.
Right.
And I would have never known the difference. I would have just kept living my good life. Everything would have seemed okay. I would have been living the ideal picturesque life that everybody talks about. But I knew in my heart, after doing a lot of reflection, prayer, talking to my wife, that wasn't me, man.
Right.
I can't, this is scandalous. I cannot do that. And sleep at night. And I'm like, no. Okay. And it's just wrong. It's not right. And did a lot of reflection. And again, I've mentioned the phrase aligning with your truth. I'm like, that would never align with my truth. And here is the truth is that, guess what? Nothing vibrates faster than the truth. And so if you want to think about law of vibration, or we can talk about law of vibration, or we can even talk about it from a religious standpoint.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about that idea, if you want to go somewhere in life and you're thinking like, man, why am I not getting there? What I think, you probably aren't vibrating at that frequency. You probably aren't aligned with the right things or the right people or whatever it is. And so that's why you're resisting. This is what I always think about is you are perfect as you are. God has made you perfect, whether you believe in God or energy. Everything is perfect. Again, frequency, energy, everything is perfect, but you're just getting in the way of it. You're getting in the way. So stop creating that interference, move out of the way, let God, let the energy, let the frequency of abundance just surround you and do what it was already supposed to do because you're there and everything will work out. So for me, the decision was go the hard route, lose it all and find out what is on that door. You don't know. Could be greatness, could not be, or just continue doing the same thing. And I chose the unknown. I chose the path of the unknown. I chose that door, and I'm so happy for it, brother. I've lost so much financially, but I'm blessed by many, so much more. And I feel like I've learned more. I have something that those so-called leaders in the politicians and the chiefs of police and the people that lay down their sword, I have something that they will never have. And for that, I am so grateful and so thankful. And that's why it's easy for me to talk about it because I have no animosity towards these people. It's like, hey, whatever happened, like they got to live their life. For me, I'm living my fullest.
Yeah, you're living your life full of purpose, man. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Folks, listen, JoelEvanCoaching.com. Go check out his website. Hit him up. Work with this guy. Follow him on he's on all the social media platforms. You can find him literally everywhere, especially now. So go check him out. Follow him on social media. And before we let you go, make sure you go check out our parent network, Heroes Media Group. Go check out all the shows. We got new shows coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and all the new articles. If you have a show and you want to bring it onto the network, hit us up, info@heroesmediagroup.com. Until next time, you've been listening to The Decision Hour.